Following up on our previous video about the bombshell article published by the conservative Wall Street Journal revealing a super creepy private letter written by Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein, well, Donald Trump is furious. He's triggered. He's on the war path. He has declared war not only on the conservative Wall Street Journal, but also its owner, Rupert Murdoch, who owns Fox News, threatening repeatedly in a series of rants on Truth Social to sue them and him into oblivion. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, Donald Trump is he's losing it. He is just losing his shit. So this is his first truth on the matter. He says, the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch personally were warned directly by President Donald J. Trump that the supposed letter they printed by President Trump to Epstein was a fake, and if they print it, they will be sued. Immediately off the bat, notice how Donald Trump in this unhinged screed is referring to himself repeatedly, not only by his title, but just in the third person, okay? Mr. Murdoch stated he would take care of it, but obviously he did not have the power to do so. The editor of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, was told directly by Caroline Levitt and by President Trump that the letter was a fake, but Emma Tucker didn't want to hear that. Instead, they are going with a false, malicious, and defamatory story anyway. President Trump will be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, and Mr. Murdoch shortly. The press was to learn to be truthful and not rely on sources that probably don't even exist. President Trump has already beaten George Stephanopoulos/ABC, 60 Minutes/CBS, and others, and looks forward to suing and holding accountable the once great Wall Street Journal. It has truly turned to be a disgusting and filthy rag, and using defamatory lies like this shows their desperation to remain relevant. If there was any truth at all in the Epstein hoax as it pertains to President Trump, this information would have been revealed by Comey, Brennan, Crooked Hillary, and other radical left lunatics years ago. It certainly would not have sat in the file waiting for Trump to have won 3 elections. This is yet another example of fake news. Now, even by Donald Trump standards, that particular Truth Social rant was particularly unhinged. I mean, again, repeatedly referring to himself in the third person, which he's done occasionally, but damn, like this, like he's frothing at the mouth, angry. He follows it up saying, the Wall Street Journal printed a fake letter supposedly to Epstein. These are not my words, not the way I talk. Also, I don't draw pictures. I told Rupert Murdoch it was a scam and he shouldn't print this fake story, but he did, and now I'm going to sue his ass off and that of his third-rate newspaper. Thank you for your attention to this matter, DJT. Now, this part here where he says, also, I don't draw pictures. We need to talk about that for just a second because actually there, again, another objective lie by Donald Trump. Trump drawings resurfaced after president claims, I never wrote a picture in my life. Several drawings made by Donald Trump in the 1990s and early 2000s resurfaced on Thursday after the president claimed to have, quote, never wrote a picture in my life. Despite his claims to have never wrote a picture in his life, Trump has sketched a number of drawings over the years, including a drawing of the Manhattan skyline dated 2004, just 1 year after he is accused of drawing the naked woman for Epstein. The 2004 Manhattan drawing was reportedly sketched by Trump for a charity art sale before being put up for auction again in 2019. Governor Gavin Newsom posted a photo of the drawing on social media Thursday along with the caption, quote, I never wrote a picture in my life. Trump sketched another drawing of the Manhattan skyline in 2005, this time for another charity auction. It was put up for auction again in 2017. These sketches from the early to mid-2000s were reportedly drawn with Sharpie markers, and you'll note that the article referenced that the drawing to Epstein was written in a heavy black marker, so there seems to be an alignment there. So again, when Donald Trump says he doesn't draw pictures, and as he said previously in his response to the Wall Street Journal on the record, I never wrote pictures before, he's lying. He's just factually lying, which means, again, we have more reason to never take Trump seriously on this, to not believe a damn thing he says. He looks more guilty and more implicated by the day. But wait, there's more, because then he has another Truth Social rant. He says, if there was a smoking gun on Epstein, why didn't the Dems who control the files for years and had Garland and Comey in charge use it? Because they had nothing. Now, this might be a persuasive case, except for 2 things. Number one, that assumes that Comey and Garland are like Trump and Trump's Justice Department, which actually we have plenty of reason to not believe that. It would be just like Merrick Garland for the sake of norms and civility to sit on incriminating evidence about Donald Trump involving Epstein, number one. But even if you don't grant that, Trump contradicts himself because then he's like, it's an Epstein hoax. You know, everything is doctored and faked by Joe Biden and Barack Obama. So that confirms that the files are real. You say that they're not. Now you're saying they're real, but they're faked. Like they're real in the sense that they exist, but they're not authentic. They've been faked by Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Well, if that's the case, then why didn't they release the files to stop you in 2016, 2020, or in 2024? They did defeat you in 2020. And obviously, you denied that. But why didn't they use these files against you in 2 out of the 3 elections or 3 out of the 3 elections? See how he contradicts himself? Like Trump is a pathological liar, but he's not a particularly good one in that he's so used to lying and having his cult just lap it up. He's lazy. He doesn't even bother to be internally consistent. It's fake. They don't exist. There are no files. Okay, there are files, but they're still fake in the sense that they were doctored. They're trying to destroy me with them, but they didn't destroy me with them. They never actually revealed them. That's because there's no smoking gun in the files that they faked. None of it makes any sense. It's subjectively incoherent and internally inconsistent. But wait, there's more, because he goes on another Truth Social rant saying, I look forward to getting Rupert Murdoch to testify in my lawsuit against him and his pile of garbage newspaper, the Wall Street Journal. That will be an interesting experience. So there you have it. We're going to look at some other reactions as well, but Donald Trump viciously attacking publicly in a series of unhinged rants the conservative Wall Street Journal, a sister publication of Fox News, and Rupert Murdoch, who owns both. A longtime conservative ally of Trump's. And there's even more reporting that Trump tried to pressure the Wall Street Journal into spiking the Epstein story before it was released. Not only is he threatening to sue them after the fact, he, as the sitting president of the United States, tried to pressure not just a media organization or a newspaper, an outlet, which would be bad enough, but even a conservative one. He tried to lean on them to not get them to publish this article because it's embarrassing to him. Trump tried to pressure the Wall Street Journal into spiking Epstein's story. Trump personally called the editor-in-chief of the Wall Street Journal to try to get the paper to spike a story it was working on about Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Let's see. It just recounts the Epstein article. Okay. Oliver Darcy of Status noted that the Rupert Murdoch-owned journal had been working on, quote, a potentially explosive story detailing Trump's ties to Epstein. The story drew the attention of the White House and prompted an intervention from Trump himself. According to people familiar with the matter, the journal is facing pressure from the White House over the story. In fact, Trump is said to have personally called Emma Tucker, the journal's editor-in-chief, to voice his objections. The specifics of the call remain unclear, but it's hard to imagine Trump voiced anything but outrage. It's unclear whether Trump reached out to Rupert Murdoch, whose News Corp owns the journal. Okay? So reportedly, Donald Trump, from his sitting position as the president of the United States, attempted to pressure the free press and censor them, to suppress them. Imagine if that were Joe Biden as the sitting president of the United States, how the right wing and MAGA would have reacted. Interesting, isn't it? Sam Stein, a journalist who works at the Bulwark, says a few things probably worth pointing out regarding the letter. Number one, would Trump ever just concoct a fictionalized conversation as part of a presentation? Well, answer, yeah, he tells Sir stories about involving him all the time. Question, would Trump ever draw a doodle? Answer, yes, there are several examples, which we just provided some. Question, is this reckless journalism? Answer, and this is the key part, there is no way the Wall Street Journal didn't lawyer the hell out of this piece before publishing it. And he says none of this is an attempt to divine how this plays out politically. And again, it could backfire. Some people are speculating that this is a gift to Trump, that this is going to unite the fractured base. I'll talk about that. He'll talk about that at the end of this video or maybe in a separate one. But again, I want to focus on Trump's reaction specifically and the threat of lawsuits and pressure against the Wall Street Journal. Okay. CNN legal analyst Ellie Honig, he's their chief legal analyst. And I want to be very clear about this. Ellie Honig is no never Trumper. Ellie Honig is no resistance lib. As a matter of fact, this guy catches a lot of shit from CNN viewers because in his legal commentary, he has repeatedly defended Trump. Like he was a vocal critic of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg bringing those 34 felony cases, the 34 felony convictions. He was from start to finish critical of that case. He thought it was weak. He thought it was bullshit. He said so not only on CNN, but he published articles to that effect. So even if you don't agree with him, I'm just pointing out that it's not like he's just reflexively anti-Trump. Okay, so keep that in mind when you hear what he has to say about the prospects of Trump's lawsuits against the Wall Street Journal.
CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Honig, this is an extraordinary escalation. I'm not going to lie. Not sure I saw this quite what this was coming. But first of all, just on the legal front, Ellie, the threat to sue over the existence of this letter, whether he himself wrote it or not, how credible?
Well, I'm sure he will sue. I mean, he has shown that he is ready, willing, and able to sue media organizations at the drop of a hat. If he does sue, it's going to be really tough because the legal burden here is very high because Donald Trump is, of course, a public figure. So it's harder to win a defamation suit. He really has to show two things. First of all, that the Wall Street Journal defamed him, that the statements here were damaging to him. That seems clear. The harder part, though, is going to be to show that they acted with what we call actual malice, meaning that they knew that what they reported was false or that they were reckless as to its falsity. That's the really hard part to show. Wall Street Journal, I mean, they tend to know what they're doing. They tend to have their stuff buttoned up. So wouldn't surprise me if he sues and would surprise me if he wins, not knowing the facts, but just knowing how high the legal bar is.
Now, if he does sue, could they fold as many other publications that Trump has sued folded, right? I mean, again, I want to be clear. Trump mentioned in his tweets, he's like, listen, I've kicked everybody else's ass. I kicked George Stephanopoulos' ass and ABC's ass and CBS and Paramount 60 Minutes. All right, I'm going after you, Wall Street Journal. But the thing is, he really didn't, at least not on the legal merits. So most First Amendment attorneys and most attorneys of relevance will tell you both ABC and CBS would likely have prevailed against Trump in court because of the legal burden that Trump had to make his case successfully and the First Amendment protections afforded to these publications. The reason they settled was for extra legal, like non-legal reasons, right? The reason they settled is because Trump was about to be, at the time for the ABC case, he was about to become president again. It was after he won the election, I believe. And so he was about to become the most powerful man on earth again, and he has a vengeful streak, a retribution streak, a mile wide. This man is more openly wrathful and vengeful than any president ever. And so they're thinking, let's just pay this guy. ABC's owned by Disney, right? $15 million, which is what they paid him, a drop in the bucket. They were probably thinking, fuck it, let's just try to get this guy off our asses. We'll pay him $15 million. We'll pat him on the back and say he's a good boy. Then he'll leave us alone, hopefully. And instead of this long, drawn-out legal conflict with the president of the United States. So we might win on the merits. We'll probably win on the merits. But then what if we have a corporate merger that requires the federal government's permission? What if he pressures his FCC to investigate us? What if there are some embarrassing things that come out during discovery, right? Again, most attorneys will tell you ABC would have prevailed on the merits. The Trump would have lost, but they had other considerations. Same thing with CBS. Trump sues CBS. They settle. Not because they would have lost in court. There's no reason to believe that. There's far more reason to believe they would have prevailed. But they had a pending multi-billion-dollar merger pending before the federal government that they needed Trump's permission for. And Brendan Carr, the FCC chair, and Donald Trump made it abundantly clear that they better play ball with Trump if they want this merger to go through. So my point is, could Trump potentially pressure the Wall Street Journal in that way? Yes, it's possible. But on the merits, the Wall Street Journal is going to probably prevail here, according to Ellie Honig. So we'll see what happens. The Wall Street Journal might sue. Trump might get distracted and not sue in the first place. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Donald Trump is openly furious, and he is going after the conservative Wall Street Journal with his favorite weapon of choice, lawsuits and mean tweets. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.